All right, let's talk about erections instead. It's a lot more fun. So, okay. The Afils, Pfizer Riser, came out as sildenafil. Who can forget this? Some of you weren't even born in 1998 probably, but those of us who were around when this drug came out November 1st, 1998, truly it was the shot heard around the world. I mean, the headlines for weeks talked about this. It's the biggest thing since sliced bread. So, prior to November 1st, 1998, there were only 2 men in the United States who were impotent. Once this drug was released, it was 23 million had a problem, literally. They came out of the woodwork. Oh, yeah, I kind of had a little bit of a problem, yeah. Anyway, so this was an amazing thing, and of course they'd been working on it. We were talking about it at lunch today. They were first using this drug for an angina drug. When it wasn't working so well for angina, they asked them to return all the drug that they had left. You know, that's what they usually do when you're on a clinical trial. So just bring it back in and we'll dispose of it. Well, nobody was bringing it back in. Would not bring it back in. They called them, come on, why don't you drink? Man, it is really working below the belt. I'm having a great time. And so it was increasing blood flow to the penis, not so much to the heart, but bingo. So they then said, well, let's see what we can do with this. Again, this was in the 60s, early 60s, and it took them 27 years to come out with this drug. There's a lot to making drugs, you all. It just isn't a thought. There's a lot to trying to get it to only work below the belt. You just don't want everything to vasodilate because you drop dead. So anyway, so it's a PDE5, a phosphodiesterol ester inhibitor, and in a roundabout way it boosts nitric oxide below the belt primarily. So bingo, up it goes. To have an erection, you basically need 2 things. You need blood flow and the nerve to do it. So in other words, the 2 major causes of erectile dysfunction are atherosclerosis and neuropathy. This basically treats just one of those, and that is blood flow. So most of your men with diabetes, you all, have 2 problems, and that's why these drugs very rarely work in diabetic men. Maybe 40% of the time, if there's no neuropathy associated with their ED, then these will work. But if there's a neuropathy, there's nothing you can do for that except there's injections, we've got vacuum pumps, we've got other things to do, but there's no magic pill. So the causes of ED then, atherosclerosis and neuropathy are the 2 big ones. Certainly drugs can cause erectile dysfunction. Low T. Who came up with that stupid? I got low T. Well, then use that Axiron or whatever they're putting now in their armpits to increase it. Anyway, low testosterone can occur as men get older, but it's nothing like the drop in estrogen. When our ovaries die, it is over. The party is kaput. So men's testosterone will decline with time, but it is not a significant drop at 51.3 plus or minus 2.7, not to be exact. So one of the bigger problems in men is the psychological aspects. When they were 18, if a breeze came through the room, bingo! Anything would cause an erection. But when you're 68 or 70, it's just not as easy. And it's more, oh my God, how come it doesn't work like it did when I was 20? Come on, come on, come on. They even talk to it. I have to tell them, your penis doesn't have ears. Come on, stand up. So there is a test for that. There's a test for the psychological aspects of this disease, you all. It's very funny. So it's all based on the fact that all men have erections during sleep. So do we, ladies. We have clitoral erections during REM sleep. 5 to 7 times a night, the penis comes up for air, so does the clitoris. Not as obvious. So they're sound asleep during REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, erections occur. Boop. If you don't believe me, stay awake and watch your significant other tonight. And their eyes are going underneath the eyelids, back and forth, and you may even see their hand doing this, like this, and during REM sleep you usually see a little bunny rabbit movement of the face, like. eyes back and forth. And then they have an erection. You think, oh my God, who are you dreaming about? Nobody. It's dream sleep, but wake up, who is it? So, it's just part of being a guy and a gal. Okay, so you want to know if it's psychological. All you got to do is go to the post office on your way home tonight and buy 6 1-cent stamps. Get home tonight. Honey, we're going to test you. Before you go to bed, you take the stamps, lick the stamps, wrap them around the base of the penis, and everybody goes to sleep. Very simple. Next morning you wake up, throw the covers off. If the stamps have pulled apart, what does it tell you? Everything's in working order. Where's the problem? Yeah. Isn't that easy? It costs you 6 cents. One woman hollered out, one time she hollered out, what if I don't want to waste 6 cents on it? Somebody else on the other side of the room screamed out, use your Christmas seals. We've all got about 6 of those left over. And if you don't, just save 6 for whenever it happens. Anyway, so this is actually urologists use this, you all. They use this all the time. Why send somebody to a penile EEG lab and spend $900 a night to pay somebody else to watch it go up and down? But they do it 3 nights in a row. Urologists will do it 3 nights in a row, so you basically have to spend 18 cents. All right, anyway, so that's called psychological. Okie dokie, then there's, of course, the 3 drugs called the Afils. Your Afils are sildenafil, vardenafil, tadalafil. I love tadalafil. Ta-da! Ta-da! Afil. Okay, so then we've got Viagra. Now, interestingly, you all, this is pretty fascinating. These drugs also can boost circulation in the lungs. So we actually use these drugs for pulmonary hypertension. But they're called something different. So Revatio is the Viagra of the lungs, and Adcirca is the Cialis in the lungs. They work really well for people with idiopathic pulmonary hypertension, which is good because that's a nasty disease to have. My brother's wife, my sister-in-law, has it. Just came out of nowhere. She's 54 years old. And she called me one day and she said, Barb, first of all, I don't know much about this disease. Can you help me out? And I said, no, because I don't know much about it either, but I will look up some stuff for you. And she's also smart. She looks on it. Anyway, she then called me back. She said, oh, my God, they put me on Cialis. I said, well, give one to my brother. He might need it as well. But anyway, so put her on Adcirca, and she's actually doing quite a bit better. So helps to open up the pulmonary vasculature because the PDE5 receptors are also in the pulmonary vasculature. And Adcirca works better than the Revatio. It's more specific to the lungs. So there's some new drugs out for pulmonary hypertension, which is great. She's got more choices as her pulmonary hypertension progresses. Okie dokie, you can use these in patients with stable heart disease. You cannot use with nitroglycerin, though. You know that, I know that, you work in the ER, you know that more than anybody. What's the first question you ask somebody when they walk in with chest pain? I don't care what age they are, by the way. We got 22-year-olds taking Viagra.
Have you taken it in the last 24 to 72 hours?
Exactly. And what do they say? And you say, tell me the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. Because we can kill you if you don't tell us the whole truth. Oh, okay. Yeah, I did. All right, so Viagra and Levitra have a short half-life, you all. But Cialis has a long half-life. And that one, that's why it's called the Weekend Warrior. You take it on Friday, and they're still good to go on Sunday night. So actually, Cialis has just been approved for to take daily for benign prostatic hypertrophy. So now you've got to ask, are you taking these drugs for either erectile dysfunction or for BPH? Okie dokie. You say, well, oh my gosh, why can't I give nitroglycerin with it? Because the nitroglycerin above the belt vasodilates. These drugs below the belt vasodilate, and your blood pressure drops to zippo. Can it kill you? Yes. So we had this woman, this woman worked, this is a great story. I teach a lot at Northwestern Hospital, and they were telling me this story about this guy comes into the Northwestern Hospital emergency room. He's 54 years old, having severe chest pain, up the jaw, down the arm, sweating, the whole thing, diaphoresis, the whole heart attack thing. And they said, when was your last dose of Viagra? And he said, it was 11 o'clock in the morning. And he said, 2 hours ago, but don't tell my wife. Well, his wife happened to be a nurse in the OR at that same hospital. Well, first of all, how stupid was he to come into the same emergency room that his wife worked in the hospital? He said, don't tell my wife, though. So, of course, they all knew her, and they called her. Why wouldn't you? So they said, your husband's up here in the emergency room. He's having a heart attack. She said, oh, my God. She was in the OR. She said, oh, my God, oh, my God, oh, my God. Let me get somebody to cover for me. I'll be up there and just as soon as I can. And they said, well, he took Viagra 2 hours ago. Well, you could hear her halt, put the brakes on. She came to work at 6. This was now 11. He took Viagra at 9. You could hear her thinking, thinking, thinking. Silence on the other end of the phone. And then she said, give him nitroglycerin. They did. He died. Okay, so end of story. Anyway, so of course he was having sex with his secretary, little 22-year-old secretary. And when you're 52 and you do a little, you give it with a little more vigor with somebody that's young, and so hence because you really can't have a heart attack if you're having sex with your same old, y'all. You've been married 30 years. How much does your heart rate go up? It goes up more arguing about having sex than going ahead and getting it over with. Alrighty, so side effects, hypotension, headaches. This can cause some headaches. They don't care, though. Your Viagra causes you a headache. Oh, it's all right. Not a problem. Not a problem. Actually, can open up the lower esophageal sphincter. Men on these drugs complain of GERD all the time. Are you on Viagra, Levitra, or Cialis? Yes, I am. Well, then your GERD is most likely due to these drugs. Oh. You can put them on a PPI. I have a good friend who's got prostate cancer, significant stage 4 prostate cancer. He's only 51 years old, but he's on these drugs. So the surgery they did for the prostate, so then maybe this will help a little bit. So he's on Cialis, and he's got pretty severe heartburn, or GERD. So they put him on Nexium, high doses. Anyway, so blue vision, this is a good one. So what? Your vision looks blue. Not looking at her anyway. She looks blue or not. I look a little blue there. Yeah, so what? The only problem is if you're trying to fly a plane, then you honestly should not take Viagra within 24 hours of piloting a plane. The military actually says within 6 hours. They do not allow... No, the military says 24 hours. Commercial pilots, 6 hours. Now, what's the difference? Anyway, so when this came out, right after the Viagra had come out, I'm flying home from Greensboro, North Carolina. It was like the 5th day. It was like November 6th, right after it came out on the 1st. And I get on the plane in my USA Today, and I opened it up to read it on the way home, and it said, commercial pilots cannot take Viagra within 6 hours. I went, ah! So I read the article, and I said, oh my God. So I called the flight attendant over. I said, do you mind taking this note to the pilot? She looked at me. Back in those, it was long before 911. So she said, okay. So I wrote this note. Dear pilot, when was your last dose of Viagra? A concerned passenger in 2A. So I gave it to her, and she looked at me like I was a nutcase. And next thing I heard, the whole cockpit was like, wah! So she comes back down the aisle. She hands me the note. She's laughing so hard she's crying. I opened it up, and it said, 6 hours and 5 minutes ago. Smart aleck. Alrighty, so of course then our other major side effects, we all know this one. It's the priapism, it's the erection that never ends. And that's if you've had an erection for more than 4 hours, call all your friends. This is, of course, an emergency. Very much an emergency. Young guys think it'd be cool. Yeah, man, I can have an erection for like 4 hours. No, that's not cool. Surprise side effect of these drugs, the ED drugs, sexually transmitted disease have increased by over 300% in the over 60 crowd since these drugs have come out. Yeah, because they couldn't have sex in the old days because nothing worked. So now that things are working, they're having more sex. There's more UTIs. There's more STDs in the elderly today. Don't blow off a 9-year-old that has a drip, you all. Seriously, we see more gonorrhea, HPV is rampant. I mean, this is almost like a la 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 la, but it's true. Nothing like grandma and grandpa with gonorrhea. It just doesn't compute. Right? And you really want to ask, don't you? Swinging singles, no pregnancy worries. There's not an egg left in the house. Who cares? And plus, they've lost their frontal lobe, so they don't care what the neighbors think anymore. They're having sex in swimming pools, golf courses, everywhere. So the question is, can you have a heart attack during sex? Only if you're having it with someone you shouldn't be having it with. So the answer is, it's tough to have a heart attack with your same old partner. Okay, then. So, and the other interesting side effect of Viagra is the increased rates of mental disorders in children. Now you go, whoa, what's that all about? Older fathers are associated with higher rates of schizophrenia, bipolar disease, autism, Tourette's syndrome. We are absolutely relating an increase in these psychiatric diagnoses to old fathers. The older the man, the higher the risk of, if you call it psychiatric illness, I don't know what you call it. I mean, you're not supposed to call autism an illness or a disease, but whatever it is, we're seeing an increased risk. And that's one of the reasons we're seeing more autism, is old fathers. So if your daughter comes on, I'm so in love, I met the man of my dreams, he's 76, and we're going to start having children. What do you say to her? Yeah, right? Well, what else? He's probably got 2 other families. A lot of these guys already have grown-up kids, probably the age of your daughter. Dump the old man and marry the young guy. Because this is old sperm, you all. It's hot off the seminiferous tubule, but it is old DNA. And it's not healthy. La, 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 la. Why do young women marry old men anyway? Money. There's not a single one that says they do it for love. Do you think Anna Nicole married that 97-year-old billionaire because she loved him? Sorry, Anna, wherever you are. Okay, anyway. So, poor Mike. He's back there going, oh my God. So let's talk about your prostate, Mike. Prostrate, as we call it down south. It's prostrate. No, it's not. It's your prostate gland. Okay, Barb, I'm getting my prostate checked. So there's 2 big reasons for having big prostates. One, you're getting old. The smooth muscle proliferates, right? Prostatic hypertrophy. You don't see prostatic hypertrophy in a 20-year-old. You see it in a 80-year-old, 70-year-old. The other one is the certain type of testosterone called dihydrotestosterone or DHT. That increases the size of the prostate. So there's 2 ways we can decrease the size of the prostate. One would be to block the testosterone, correct? Okay. And then the other thing, and those drugs are called dutasteride and finasteride, Avodart and Proscar. You're familiar with these drugs. They are highly teratogenic. Women should never handle these drugs, period. If you're pregnant, you should not be handling these drugs. Now, it's really only if the capsule breaks open, but you still don't, my point is, if you are handling this drug, that means your husband is old. And here you are young with this new kid. So you honestly, this is the only time you'd really see this as a problem. Would like to mention how important vitamin D is for all men in terms of protecting their prostate gland. So it's a very important thing for your husbands to take vitamin D, you all. We do recognize that vitamin D deficiency increases the risk of prostate cancer, and this is especially true in black men. Black skin is gorgeous, but it repels vitamin D. So our African American friends, co-workers, have lower vitamin D because of that fabulous skin you have. Is that fabulous for you? No, when it comes to certain diseases. So, hence, we should get our black gentlemen and women to take more vitamin D, and their kids need more vitamin D because of that. Either that or stay out in the sun longer. So you've got to catch 22 here. Anyway, point being, men should get their prostate out in the sun. Basically, that's either that or take vitamin D. Okay, The other thing that, of course, reduces the size are these drugs that reduce the hypertrophy of the smooth muscle of the prostate. And we know those. These are known as your alpha-1 blockers. You have alpha-1 receptors on the smooth muscle cells of the prostate, so we use drugs to block those receptors. You know the drugs as tamsulosin, Flomax. Great name. Flow to the max. Number 2 is silodosin, Rapaflow. Love that one too. And then doxazosin is an older one. We still see it used. It's usually the longer acting, extended release doxazosin known as Cardura. So these, lots of your older gentlemen are on these drugs. Okay. Tamsulosin, Flomax, by the way, not to be confused with Flonase. I had a friend who ordered Flonase online. She got Flomax. I said, well, you could use it if you're having trouble with your bladder outlet obstruction, but she wasn't old enough to have that. Anyway, we are using this in women for bladder outlet obstruction. So women will be on Flomax, helps to increase your urine flow. But the other thing you must know, all those over-the-counter antihistamine drugs are potently anticholinergic and can tighten the sphincter. So before you start giving all these other drugs for people who are having trouble peeing, make sure they're off Benadryl and a lot of those anticholinergic over-the-counter drugs for cold symptoms, flu symptoms, allergy symptoms, because that's one of the biggest problems here, you all. Alrighty then. So, by the way, there's the slide I was looking for. Get that prostate out in the sun. 10 to 15 minutes, 2 to 3 times a week, will pump up that vitamin D. No sunscreen. Alrighty then, so we're going to come back and talk about the alpha-1 blockers and cataract surgery. This is new information and very important since we have lots of old folks who have cataracts. So we'll come back and talk about this.